Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma, Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma, Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma, Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma, Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma, Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma,
Jaya Ma,
Jaya Jagadambe,
Jai Jai Ma,
Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma,
Jaya Jagadambe, Hey Ma Durga,
Hey Kali.
Jaya Ma,
Jaya Ma,
Jaya Jagadambe,
Jai Jai Ma,
Hey Ma Durga, Hey Kali. Kali Kali Ma Kali Ma Kali Ma 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 Kali Kali Ma
So good. So good. Thank you. Thank you. And I really love that song because Kali, at the very end, it goes Kali Ma, Kali Ma. And a lot of people don't know about Hinduism. They think that Hinduism has many gods, but actually Hinduism talks about the one God and its many faces and the many aspects of the one. And I've studied many of the different gods and goddesses in Hinduism, and Kali is one of my favorites. And what I love about Kali is they call her the destroyer goddess, which she seems pretty terrifying whenever you look in a book and you see a picture of her with like a big sword and, and her tongue's out and, she's got heads and arms hanging from her. It's like pretty like, whoa. But what she is she destroys the blockages that are in our ways. She destroys our fears, our worries. She takes away everything that is blocking us from getting to our good. And I really especially like this song because Kali Ma is, to me, just saying that it's a song of surrender. Like, I surrender. I let you destroy and take away all of the things that are not serving me, and I surrender into a greater good that is mine right now. And that's why I love that song. Today I'm talking about releasing and letting go as a spiritual practice, as a great way for us to evolve as spiritual beings on this planet. 100% of our spiritual growth is about letting go. There's a story about a woman named Kelly, and for over 35 years, Kelly and her mom just did not get along. And Kelly was really challenged by the fact that she couldn't understand her mom very well. Her mother had both emotional and mental issues, and they just had a difficult time growing up. And Kelly got away, married her husband, and at one day in March of 2015, at 5 a.m., she received a call from her mom. And her mom said, I want you to know that I'm moving in with you and your husband right now. I'm going to come over to your house, and I was just calling to make sure that you're there. And Kelly said, well, we actually just moved from the house that you're going to. We're living in a new spot. And her mom got furious at her. She was so angry, and she was yelling at her, and she was telling her what a terrible daughter she was. And Kelly eventually hung up the phone and just started crying. And she was so upset because she didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to work with her mom, and she just never could figure it out. And she heard this little voice in her head that said, "What do you want? Ask me what you want." And so she said, "You know what? I surrender. I give up. I let it go. You know what, universe? My mom is your child. You take care of it. It's not my responsibility anymore. Thank you very much. Please, please take care of this. Thank you." And after she said that, there was like a relief off of her shoulders, a weight that had come off her shoulders, and she literally felt a breeze come through the house and just breathe through the house. And something had shifted within her. The next day, she got a call from a hospital. And the hospital said, "Don't worry, we have your mom. She'd fallen. She didn't break anything, but she is injured." And then they proceeded to tell her that they noticed that she was a little mentally unstable. And the hospital was able to diagnose her mom, who had not been ever diagnosed with her mental challenges. And so for the first time, Kelly had a mom that had care and well-being in a way that she was unable to provide for her mother. And it provided a bunch of peace for Kelly. But the secret is that she decided to surrender. And a lot of people talk about surrender, and you kind of conjure these images of, waving the white flag, and you're in an army, right? So the army that waves the white flag and surrenders, well, then they're defeated, and it's terrible. It's a terrible thing to surrender. This is kind of like our society. We're like, surrendering, bad. Don't talk about surrendering. That's a terrible thing. And I want to invite you to consider that maybe surrendering is not about defeat. Maybe surrendering is about allowing yourself to be in a bigger idea of good and releasing your own personal need to control what's going on out there, your own desire to be in control. Ray Jordan says all spiritual work is actually the process of subtraction, the releasing of old ideas and false beliefs about our life. And by releasing old ideas and false beliefs, you welcome insights to reveal how to open to your highest good. So basically, releasing is about making room for a greater good to be expressed or received, or for change to take place, or for healing to take place. So if you are in a space where you're feeling stuck right now, or if you're in a space where you're like, I would like to be healed right now, or if you're in a space of, I would like to see change in my life right now, then I would invite you to consider the spiritual practice of surrender. It's an art. It's an art of letting go of control. We try to control things. We try to make things happen. And our ego is trying to do that. Like our ego, I need to be the one who makes this happen. Ego is also another word for edging God out. So what if we tried to surrender to the infinite one? In the dictionary, it says surrender is to yield to the possession or power of another. So instead of surrendering to a person, perhaps we could surrender to the infinite, to the great creator, the one with all the many names. Because do you think maybe if that great creator created, I don't know, lungs to breathe, people, an ecosystem, a planet, a galaxy, maybe it created this entire universe. It created black holes and the sun and life. It created all of that, physics, all these things that we know about and don't know about. Do you think that maybe it might know how to do your life better than you do? Perhaps. Perhaps you could let go of control. Because if you're constantly trying to get control, if you're constantly trying to control what's out there and what's going on, then you can be driven by your fears. You can experience stress and anxiety. You can experience unhappiness. You might lash out to others because they're not responding how you want them to respond. So if any of that sounds familiar to you, if that's happened to you in the last week or maybe last year or two, I would invite you to consider the idea of surrendering, of allowing a bigger good into your life, allowing a bigger God into your life. That's a synonym for good is God, or God is good. And if you don't want to use the word God, you could just use the word good. And just think about, where do you feel like you hold the reins a little too tightly? Perhaps there's places when you complain or you recognize that you suffer on a regular basis. Or maybe you need to distinguish between the voice of fear, which is our ego, and the voice of love, which is our heart space, the truth of who we are. Imagine what it would be like to be fully present in the moment. Imagine what it'd be like to just feel the sensations in the moment, to let go, to be curious, to accept what is. Eckhart Tolle says that true surrender is something entirely different. It does not mean to passively put up with whatever situation you find yourself in and do nothing about it, nor does it mean to cease making plans or initiating positive action. Surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to, rather than opposing the flow of life. So try that on for a spiritual practice, the art of surrender. The second thing I'd like to invite you to do is to create emptiness in your life in order to invite more good in, to invite more love in, to invite more power and grace and ease in. If you like any of that, then I invite you to create a space of emptiness. We have the law of the vacuum law, which is basically one of the quickest ways for people to manifest prosperity or ease or grace in their life is to create a vacuum. So basically, you're surrounded by good everywhere. No matter where you're at, you're surrounded by good everywhere. And the only lack that truly exists is in your mind. So when you clear your mind of all lack and limitation and just allow spaciousness to be there, then you give permission for all the good to fill that space. Aristotle said that nature abhors a vacuum. Basically, he realized that in all of nature, there is something in every single space. It's everywhere. Or God or spirit, or, it's everywhere. And so if we allow ourselves to empty ourselves, then we create a tension with our surroundings where only good can be sucked in. Now, I love that idea. As a matter of fact, I really love the idea that preceding a miracle is emptiness. I'm reading this book, which is The 12 Conditions of a Miracle. I'm doing it for the Sunday evening experience that we have. But what I read last week was so powerful to me because it said miracles start with emptiness. Now, Todd Michael wrote this book, and he says, whenever a state of emptiness or lack is created, nature immediately mobilizes to fill it. And the emptier a vacuum, the more powerful its ability to attract. And he talks about the greatest of miracles. The greatest of miracles was when our universe was first created. And before anything came into being, perfect emptiness existed. There was no space, there was no time, there was no matter, there was nothing. And then the incredible creative force, the creative genius of the universe was not satisfied with that emptiness. And it created all of this. It created the Big Bang. It birthed life into being. And here we are. But just preceding that miracle was emptiness. So if you want to create miracles in your life, if you want to have something that is beyond what you can conceive to enter into your life, I invite you to consider creating emptiness. And you can do that two ways. One is you can do it in the internal or you can do it in the external. Now in the book, the 12 Conditions of a Miracle, the whole book is based on the story of Jesus and him creating the miracle of the loaves and fishes with a whole big crew of people that were out there. And interestingly enough, Todd Michael goes back to the original Greek and he retranslates it. So he says, okay, there's this one word, and for that word, our New International Version Bible says this thing, and really this Greek symbol means all of these things, and so I'm going to go back and retranslate this. And in the story, just before he performs the miracle, there's this line that says, Jesus withdrew from there in a boat into a desert place privately. And looking at the retranslation that Todd Michael proposes, he says, it could have actually said, Jesus went away into the desert alone. There he withdrew himself, or his ego, by going down into a state of emptiness or inner stillness, a place or a condition of potentiality. So the first step for miracles to happen is emptiness, because it's a place, it's a condition where potentiality occurs. If you go into the desert, which means you can go out into nature, you can go into a place of silence, a place where you are in the stillness. If you set yourself up in a vacuum, you can experience the idea of good things being sucked towards your life, being just attracted to you wherever you go. And again, you can do this two ways. One is by doing it through the internal. So that's going to a place deep within and emptying your mind of thoughts. When I first learned how to meditate, I was not a very good meditator. And as a matter of fact, I took up other forms of meditation because the first form of meditation I tried was silence, which was not working for me. And then I started doing walking meditations and chanting meditations and drumming meditations until I could finally get to that zone where I would stop thinking and start just being. And once I got through that, I got to the place where I could actually go into a place of silence and acknowledge my mind for trying to think of things while I was trying to not think of things. And what I would do is I imagine my thoughts as clouds, and I would just imagine them just kind of like floating right by in one ear, floating by out the other ear. And it's amazing what miracles started happening in my life because of that. So the ability to access a meditative state is vital to access good in your life, to access miracles in your life. So I'm going to give you homework. I invite you to meditate 10 minutes a day, to go into a silence. 10 minutes, that's it. Who doesn't have 10 minutes? 10 minutes a day. Now, some of you are regular meditators, so what I want you to do is add 10 minutes somewhere else in your day, because like me, I might have, in the very beginning of my day, I do a meditation, and then I'm great for the rest of the day. Well, what if you put a 10-minute meditation somewhere else in your day? You're working through your day, maybe you're at your desk still at home, and, like at 10 o'clock or at 2 o'clock, you set an alarm for a 10-minute break, and you go into the silence, just for 10 minutes. I want to know what happens for you. The second thing to do is to process this emptiness through releasing externally. In other words, you need to give things away in order to create some more flow into your life. We have a law of circulation, and it kind of goes like this. If you are miserly hoarding things, then you just create a recession in your life. But when you circulate substance, you keep the river of prosperity flowing. Now, prosperity doesn't just mean money. It means health. It means energy. It means so much more than just finances. But finances are good. I welcome that too. But in this law of circulation, when you give things away, you are indicating to the universe you're ready to receive more good. And we have 3 different aspects of the law of circulation. One is you can only attract what you are, so pay attention. Number 2, you can only receive what you're first willing to give. So what are you willing to give away? Are you willing to give those things away that they may no longer serve you, but at one time they brought you happiness and joy, and you want happiness and joy to be in somebody else's life? Or maybe you can give away compliments. Or maybe you can give away your friendship. Or maybe you can give away service to a community. Whatever you give away, this is the 3rd thing in that aspect, must return back to you. And typically it returns back to you multiplied abundantly. So as I give love away, I receive love multiplied abundantly. If I give things away in joy, I get to receive things in joy. We've been trained that there's a limited amount of good in our lives. Like, we've been trained that there's a pie, and I have this full pie, like 100, there's a full pie there, and when I eat a piece of pie, I eat my piece of pie, well, there's only this, pie left for you. But that's not how the universe works. The universe is infinite, which means that there is no end to it. So if I eat a piece of pie, and I have pie, the pie is full. It's like the piece doesn't leave the pie. I just get to eat the pie, and I give away a full piece of pie, a full whole pie. It doesn't make sense in our logical minds because we come from a limited perspective. But the universe is infinite. It has infinite resources. It can keep creating. It created all of this out of nothing. It still can do that. And it can do it in and through and as and around us. The unlimited pie. So you can give things away and create more flow in your life. As you give away to the universe, you are indicating to the universe that you are ready and willing to receive more good in your life. I really love this story about the Dead Sea. I've used it several times just because it's one of my favorite stories. And it's about the Dead Sea in the 1980s. Now, the Dead Sea is this, it's so salty that nothing can live in it, basically. It's very, very high saltiness. Forgot what it's called, but it's so high that you can go into the Dead Sea and you can kind of float on the water without any effort because our body, the water is less weight than the density of the sea. And so nothing grows in it. But in 1980, there was this crazy rainstorm that came through in winter, and it changed the salinity of the body of water by 5%. And that small 5% change had a massive effect on the Dead Sea. It had this type of red algae like spring to life, and so the whole sea had changed from this blue color to this red color because this algae was flourishing. Now, imagine that. Just a little movement, just a little tiny movement was all that was needed for a massive effect. And can you imagine a slight change in our consciousness? A slight change where we just have that 10 minutes a day, or a slight change where we just start surrendering. What kind of effect it would have in our life? A massive effect. Now, I'm interested in welcoming that kind of experience in my life. And so I wonder if you are willing to create flow in your life, if you're willing to stop clinging onto things fearfully, if you're willing to let things go. I would encourage you to give money or something away to people or organizations that inspire you. I would encourage you to clean out your clothes that are no longer fitting or that you haven't been wearing and let them go. Get rid of your shoes that you don't use. Start giving away appreciation to friends and family. Start giving love away and friendship away. Start this movement. Because I know that miracles happen every day. And they might as well happen to me. And they might as well happen to you. But we have to create the conditions for them to happen. So I would encourage you to put your conscious attention on surrendering. To stop thinking of surrender as a bad thing and more as an idea of a welcoming more good into your life. I would encourage you to create a vacuum of emptiness and spaciousness. I would encourage you to release things to allow more flow into your life. And if you do those things, I can't imagine what's going to happen, but I do know it's going to be good. Eugene Holden says that fear keeps us hanging on to what doesn't work in our lives. It also keeps us from surrendering to our good. Surrender has two sides. We surrender all that does not serve us, and then we surrender to our greatest good. So what are you going to surrender? What are you allowing to fall away? What do you want to let go of? What would you like to have changed in your world? What are you willing to allow to move on? What do you find that's draining you? Like Kelly and her mom was draining her. What can you surrender to really embrace the goodness that is yours to have? What can you release? What identities do you want to let go of? What are you willing to release or surrender? What are you willing to let go? Because what I do know is 100% of our spiritual growth comes in the letting go. So if you are willing, why don't you let go with me today? And let's pray. I am ready to let go. I am ready to surrender. I recognize and know that I do have an ego, that I do edge God out, that I do try and do it all myself, and I think that I have to do it, and I have all of the details and all of the scheduling that happens. And then I realize right now that I don't have to do it all, that there is something that is greater than me, more brilliant than I am, more mystical and magical and magnificent, that is bigger than me, that I am a part of. And it is and has a greater plan for my life than I can ever imagine. So I surrender into that today. I release who I used to be, and I step into the possibility. I recognize and know that this change that's happening within me is happening because I want to let go of all that is no longer serving me. I surrender my beliefs and my limitations. I allow Kali and all the other energies of the divine goddess to take away the blockages and the fears and the worries. And I allow myself to be free and clean and refreshed and uplifted. For I know that today is a great day of revelation. Today is a day where I get to be free. Today is a day where I get to see a new possibility for my life, for my community, for my family. And so I just acknowledge Source, Spirit, God, Allah, Buddha, all of the energy that is here, that is about clearing away the old and welcoming the new. I say yes to it. I welcome it. I claim it. I accept it. I embody it. I am it. And I express it fully, freely, right here, right now. And as I know this truth for me, I know this truth for each and every person who's out there, that we are part of this united family, this family of love, this family of light, this family of light workers, that we are here to emerge into a new possibility. And so I allow this emergence to be my truth. I let it go, and I let it be in its perfection, and so it is. Thank you.